I'm Nikhil, and I'm a Technology and Innovation Department fellow for the summer at the City of Long Beach. And the project that I was working on was Pitch Long Beach. So getting started, first of all, I would like to thank all of the collaborators that helped me throughout this project. This wouldn't have been possible without every single one of them. And now, just to provide you a bit of a background. So diving right in, what exactly is Pitch Long Beach? So Pitch Long Beach is an active smart city program run by the City of Long Beach since February 2022 with more than 150 pitches. And so basically it's a smart city challenge, and it's different than a traditional procurement in a sense, in a way in which the traditional procurement, what it outlines is the city identifies a problem, the city scopes up a solution, and then the city solicits proposals to implement a solution. Where Pitch Long Beach differs is it gives opportunities to the vendors to identify the problems, and then the vendors can draft up solutions for those problems and then present it to the city, and then the city evaluates it. So this is an unsolicited program. And then if there is interest shown, then it goes to the solicitation phase. So why does Pitch Long Beach exist? Like, why is this, different version of a, procurement setup in place? So we used to get a lot of vendor cold calls and emails, and that used to take up a lot of city staff time, and it was an added burden. So to mitigate that, we created a formal procedure in which the vendors would be happy because they would get this formal venue in which they could pitch their programs, their solutions to the problems that they identify. It also engages community collaboration, and it engages public-private partnerships. And it also gives us more opportunities for innovation and getting new technology. So what's the problem statement? So the problem statement is that the quality of the pitches is not exactly what the city expects or needs. And the pitches are not aligned to the department needs. And we have had only 2 successful pilots out of 180 plus pitches. So now we would like to change these numbers, and we would like to have more pilots being done through this program. So that was the main problem statement. And so diving right into the solution. So this is an overview of the process we followed. I'll not be going into the details of every single one of them because it will take a lot of time. But in a sense, we'll today be covering the interventions, the user research, and the programmatic changes. So before we dive into those, let me talk you through the hypothesis that we had. So the hypothesis that we had is that SMEs, that are the subject matter experts, are volunteers, and hence the priority of the evaluation comes really low. Then the AI, we can use AI to save the SMEs time and effort. We want to achieve better quality by introducing interventions on the vendor side. And we want to have a more quantitative decision-making process that is more machine learning friendly for analysis. We want to align the vendor pitches to the department needs, and we want to match the right people for pitch evaluation. So for all of these, we will be utilizing LLMs, that are large language models. So for any of you who are not familiar with LLMs, it's basically a foundational model that is trained on the whole world of data. And it can be adapted to many different tasks, question answering, sentiment analysis, and the list goes on. So why exactly are we using LLMs? So the reason is because, as you can see on the right side, the data that we have is quite challenging, especially for statistical models and traditional neural models. Data is not formatted and it's not standardized. We don't have a lot of quantitative columns. And the best accuracy that we could get out of the statistical models was 38.9%, with 20% being random guessing. So we did see some patterns, model picking up some patterns, but not enough that we could utilize them. So for these complex patterns, And for the general use cases, we want to have these LLMs because they are very generalizable. They can be utilized in many different downstream tasks. They have the world knowledge to analyze this unstructured information, and they can be few shot prompted for low resource settings since we have only 150 pitches. So I know this is a lot. I'm not going to go into details of every single one of them, but what essentially this is we have, we utilize LLMs, we give it the Long Beach, history as context. We have demonstrations from past pitches. In the Long Beach, we use OpenAI GPT-4 for this, and we use it for the downstream, an ensemble of downstream tasks, summarization, classification, entailment, and natural language generation that form a couple of other downstream tasks that we actually utilize. And the cost with GPT-4 is, for 200 pitches, that is 2 years worth of data, is just $6 to $12. So it is pretty economical, and there are open source alternatives that can be used for free. So this is a highlight of the evaluation of our interventions. And we did design the process and interventions taking bias and hallucination into account. And we actively mitigate them by having a collaborative architecture and with more active feedback for the AI model. So now as I said, we had some hypotheses in the start. So now we want to validate those, right? And we want to validate if our interventions are actually correct. So we do this by user research studies. And this is a highlight of user research studies. I will not be going into every single one of these, but basically, what we have is from the user research interviews, the main point that we got was the SMEs were interested in our interventions, and the SMEs did see value in the program, but they didn't think that these values were reflected in the program. So this prompted us in a two-pronged approach. One being problems with the program that are addressed by the programmatic rethink, and the problems with the experience that we handle with interventions. So these are some of the interventions that we had. There are a lot of AI interventions for value for quality, TID, SME experience. As I highlighted before, I'll not be going into each of these to respect the time. So as I said, the other thing that we uncovered was a programmatic rethink, right, to address some of the fundamental issues of this program. So first, let's revisit the initial draft, right? So in the initial draft, as we can see, we have Pitch Long Beach provides a novel framework for the vendor community to identify problems that the city has not identified on its own. So emphasis on the problem. As you can see on the diagram right here, we assume that proposer identifies the correct problem and then go forward with the solution. And then the city screens the solution, and there's no talk about the problem statement at all. And that leads to a lot of downstream problems that we had. And also, since the program is asynchronous to Smart City Challenge, that is the traditional procurement, we are utilizing more city resources for duplicate tasks. So how do we change this? How do we make this correct in a sense? So our aim with this is efficiency, fixing time constraints, more feedback, more reward, more utility. And this is just a highlight on how we actually go about doing this. This is a very simplified version of what exactly we do. But essentially, we convert this program into two parts. One, the problem part, where we evaluate the problems first, then we evaluate the solutions for those problems if the problems are selected. And problems and solutions have a great relationship. One problem can have 1,000 solutions, but a solution cannot have 1,000 problems. So we utilize this one-to-many relationship to cut down our evaluation time and the number of evaluations that we have to do, as you can see highlighted on this on the slide. And we also beautifully connect this to the Smart City Challenge. Even if we don't like the solution, but we do like the problem statement, it can go to the Smart City Challenge. So this, we backed it up with some cluster analysis that a lot of the solutions are about the similar problems. And just highlighting the impact that we had, we got more innovation and pilots. We had a better SME experience. We had better relationships with vendors. the program is aligned to its goals. And we had an increase with pitch quality, and we looped every different smart city challenges initiatives together to curb redundant efforts. So I think we have time. So I'll show you, this is a simplified setup for the city to deploy, in which we utilize the existing framework. As I said, we utilize GPT-4 to generate problem statements from the solution. We generate a summary, we generate scores, predicted decision, pros, cons, caveats, and word clouds. Now, before, the PDF interface was just the pitch. I'll show you how exactly it was and how it is different now. So this is how it looked before, where we had just the pitch, raw pitch presented to the evaluators to evaluate. And now what we have is first an AI generated summary, pros, cons, caveats, a little bit of a restructuring, and we also have an AI highlighter that highlights the important parts of the answer that are directly related to the question. So it highlights the important information that we should look at in the answer. So for really long answers, this really helps. And I think we have time for bonus. So another application that we have is generative form. So what exactly is a generative form? It's using AI models to gather information. So as I said, we have Microsoft Forms for gathering pitch submissions. Here we are using generative AI to gather the form information. And what this does is, if you see on this slide, I asked the question, demonstrate how your proposal aligns with one or more of the 4 Smart City Initiative guiding principles. And this is an actual pitch that we received. And the answer is incomplete, and they did not demonstrate how their proposal aligns with these qualities. So it correctly answers that, I haven't actually demonstrated that. And could you please provide complete responses for design for equity and cultivate local expertise, and also mention your approach for the 3rd principle. So yeah, this is all I had for today. Hopefully this was informative. I would be happy to take on questions if anyone has any. So if you don't have any questions, so I just wanted to highlight, how do you exactly go about deploying these AI systems with safety and with a trustworthy aspect? So these AI systems that we had developed, as I mentioned earlier, these are capable of hallucinations and biases in them. So do we mitigate this by actively not replacing our current structure? We make sure that our current structure, in which there are humans, we have those pipelines as it is. We just provide it as an aid. So for example, one might say, with the summarizations and the key points and the quality and alignment scores that the AI is generating, the evaluator will become biased if the summary is biased, if the summary generated by the AI model is biased. Now, to mitigate this, what we actually do is have the evaluators first express their initial opinions about the summary and about the pitch, and then proceed to view the AI's generated pros, cons, caveat list. So that makes sure that there's no bias and hallucinations that get by and influence the decision. So
yeah. Actually, I have a quick question.
Hmm?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing. This is a really cool project. And I appreciate the last bit that you added about the the safety measures that you're taking in this project too. I think it's really cool. I was wondering if you had more time, is there anything that you would change or do differently, or that you would add on to this project?
So if I had more time, I think a thing that I would do differently is as we see here, what we have is the feedback mechanism that we have is geared towards the vendors currently, and for the AI model to improve and constantly be updated, we need to have a feedback loop for the AI models themselves. Currently, this is not in place. It just has the AI model is just given the context. But if I could change the system a little bit more, I would gear this feedback loop towards the AI as well. But for the interest of time, I couldn't get to do this.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. That sounds like a really cool idea.
Thank you for the question, Mira.